And when you run the numbers all the way out to your balance sheet and to your P&L, you're almost going to be as profitable on way less revenue dollars. And with the economy that is coming, with the Fed dropping interest rates, there's rumors that QE may start back up at the end of 25.
Today's episode is powered by Rilla Voice.
Rilla has taken those cumbersome, time-consuming ride-alongs and streamlined the entire process by leveraging AI technology to do dozens or hundreds of ride-alongs virtually every single day.
They also provide you, the owner or manager, with the top performers KPI metrics designed easily for you to coach your team into rock stars.
Schedule a demo today at www.rilla.com.
Yo, Joshua, really fast, I want to talk about online scheduling for the trades and how they should be affordable, effective, and easy to manage. Let's take a really quick second here and talk to share a little bit about the latest group of experts that we've teamed up with, Autobot.ai. Our team of industry experts has developed a best-in-class scheduling app that seamlessly integrates with your CRM. Every booked job goes directly into your software and becomes one of our advanced marketing analytics, which is really cool. We can automatically select the marketing campaign of your choice based on how the customer came to your site.
Yeah, Tersh, those industry-leading analytics tells you everything that you're going to want to know about your lead, where they came from, what they did before scheduling, and what page they converted on, plus other things. On average, about 75% of people who start a booking with our app complete it, but we'll give you a more granular reporting that shows conversion rates based on marketing source and medium to help improve your marketing efforts.
So wait a minute, what about the other 25% that didn't book? How do you as a consumer deal with your current scheduler helping you to reach out to those lost leads?
It's a great question, Tersh. So is when we say we help you book more jobs, we mean it. So we'll help you instantly send a text message to customers who didn't complete their booking, helping you to keep the conversation going and your schedule full.
So honestly, with no contracts, affordable monthly rates, you really don't have anything to lose. And so it's a great program to try out. And if you use SBM, when you go to sign up for it, you'll actually save $1,500 on the setup fees. So honestly, give it a shot. Tell us what you think.
If you're a contractor with multiple CSRs, check out this Service Business Mastery podcast partner, Lace.ai. Lace uses cutting-edge AI to analyze your phone calls, uncover lost revenue opportunities, and empower your CSRs to convert more leads. You can significantly increase revenue without spending extra on marketing or hiring by using Lace.ai to boost your conversion rates. For the first time, you can gain deep insights into customer needs at scale with minimal effort. Elevate your call center to achieve industry-leading booking rates and revenue. Visit www.lace.ai to book a demo today. Now back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the Service Business Mastery Podcast. We are here live at Service World Expo 2024 in Orlando, Florida. Currently, there are no hurricanes, knock on wood, in the forecast, and we are clean. It's been great weather here. It's been the 80s and sunny. We're here with Joe Strittmatter, Brian Cohen.
There we go. Easy
we're
one.
Talk. Thank you. You're going to put it right in front of my face. Appreciate that. But we're here live. We have, as you can see, if you're watching this, we have our beautiful faces on the backdrop. You can't miss us here. We decided to blow it up just in case you didn't know what we look like.
Big time, baby.
Yeah. We're trying to fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
But we're here. We're going to talk about industry trends. Joe, actually, I'll let you introduce yourself first, and then Brian, and then we'll kind of get into it a little bit.
Okay. Joe Strittmatter, second generation HVAC tech and business owner. Wife and I took over the business from dad in around 06, 07. Grew it to about $2.5–3 million from nothing, doing new construction. Then 08, 09 hits. Knew we needed to diversify. I joined a franchise, sold it 3 months after I joined because I realized I wasn't going to make any money.
The franchise itself, but you kept the business? Or
No, I sold it all. I sold the franchise.
Sold it back.
And, yeah, everything back. And lost $15,000 when I couldn't afford to. Got back into new construction. Got a phone call from one of my equipment TMs. He mentioned where everybody learned all this stuff, and these franchises are from a book named HVAC Spells Wealth by Ron Smith.
Yep.
Bought it. In the back of the book, he credited Matt Michelle and Day and Service Roundtable, and joined the next day. Started getting into service. Joined Service Nation Alliance, and from there started growing 30-40% year over year.
So did you
Twice named by Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing
Oh yeah.
privately held. The 2 years we entered, and then we ended up selling in 21 to private equity.
Now, when you did you start another business when you sold the franchise, or is it the same business that your dad had?
Dad had a business technically, but he wasn't doing any work.
It was a
with
job.
It. No, he wasn't doing anything.
Oh, okay.
And so we basically resurrected that, bought the franchise, sold the franchise, retained the name and everything of the old business, and then just went back into. It was another franchisee in the area, so I just sold the territory back to that guy.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, that's really cool. So now, how did you meet this guy over here?
Oh Lord, Brian was blessed
am I still on call block,
with,
Joe?
With
Huh? I think Joe has me on call block still. Sorry.
I met Brian at one of these Service World Expo events, and I thought, why do I need a broker to do my deal?
You're gonna do it on your own.
And I did. In 19, we walked away from a closing day of closing, and it was a mutual thing. The equity company that was gonna purchase this was having some issue, and we didn't feel as if we were getting the greatest value for the company. So we shook hands, parted ways friends, and I actually called him the next day and said, hey, I need to learn more about this whole process, and spent the next 2 years working with Brian, and ended up getting almost 3.5 times more money in 24 months than I would have got with the original sale gone through.
Now that's a commercial right there. We'll just clip that out and we'll clip that out and give it to you later for a commercial.
It's interesting how things work out.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, look at something like you're getting ready to sell, doesn't work out. You don't know what the next steps are, and then ultimately leads you down to a different path, and that path leads to something that was a more successful outcome for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've talked to a number of people that have done their own deal, and I was doing the exact same thing. I spoke to Brian, but I didn't ever sign the contract.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get all the information out so I could do it myself and save that money.
Yeah. No,
And it would have bit me bad.
Yeah.
So, Brian, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Brian Cohen. I am the business strategist of SF&P Advisors. SF&P is a CPA firm that specializes in HVAC, plumbing, and mechanical contractor transactions. We have sold over $3.5 billion of these deals in the space.
That's
of
wow.
these businesses in the space.
$3.5 billion
Yep,
with a B.
20 years. Yep, with the B. It's exciting.
That's
Love it.
wild.
But, Joe said something interesting. I will just jump in. We talk to guys like Joe all the time. Listen, they are smart and they are sophisticated, and they own a business. They own a big business. It's hard to tell a big business owner, hey, you're probably making a mistake here. Let's have a conversation, right? Does this guy look like he wants to hear from anybody else? He can do his own thing his own way, right? Your typical type A.
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Where Joe is different than most other people is that as a type A, he also had the awareness to say, hey, you know what? I tried this. This probably isn't my best thing. Why don't I go get the best people to go ahead and handle this for me, right? And knock on wood, it was an incredibly successful transaction. And listen, Joe and Tanya have been good friends of mine ever since. We laugh our asses off about it still to this day. But he's indicative of a lot of other owners, and some of them are too afraid to call and say, hey, I screwed this up. Can we have a conversation? They'd rather go get their deal done, go brag that they got their deal done. By the way, we hear about all of them.
And lose
And
money
they're
on
shit.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You listen, if somebody tells you they got 15x on a multiple, okay.
Doing it themselves.
Laugh. Yeah.
They undervalued the EBITDA. The PE firm valued their EBITDA, and it's not right.
Because they knew they would go brag to their friends that this company paid 15x. So you think, oh my God, 15x.
Oh, yeah.
On what EBITDA? There's two levers of this equation.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So real
that
quick.
never gets brought up.
No,
That part of it, yeah.
Oh, I heard
It's
about
almost like the top line revenue number. It's like just that X multiple. It's
Everybody
like
wants the vanity.
the vanity, and it's not the actual thing at the end of the day that actually matters.
So we did one. Guy wound up not becoming a client of ours. We had a conversation. We knew who he was. Been talking to him for a couple of years, and we knew what the numbers were. He's like, Brian, listen, we kind of found somebody. We did it on our own. I was pretty happy. I got 14x. I said, you didn't get 14x. No, that's what you got. I said, well, you did. It's just they drop your EBITDA number down by about 40% in order to give you your 14x. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, let's pull out a pen and paper, do a little money in, money out.
Let's do some math.
And he was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's bragging about the 14x, not how much money he got. I don't care what the multiple is. How much are you getting?
Yeah.
Right?
That's the number. How much money goes in the
Well, I
bank?
care about the multiple, but I'm saying like
Sure,
EBITDA
sure.
is the first thing.
Yeah.
Off of that, everything else happens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Well, and I'd argue that the multiple is not important. We had a number, my wife and I, and we had a minority partner that was the head of my plumbing division. And my wife and I had a number. We knew what that number was to live off of the rest of our lives, what we wanted. And we worked backwards to get to the number that we needed. And then I made sure my minority partner had what his number was. That dictated my trigger to sell. I
Gotcha.
didn't care what the multiple was.
Sure.
at all.
Yeah.
I just needed
You
this
just need to get
dollar
to that
amount.
number.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what it
How did you
is.
go about figuring that out? Like that
That is a good question.
That's a hard thing. Like,
Good job, Josh. You got one good question.
That is literally all I'm here for is just one. That's all you're getting out
Well,
of me.
you met your quota.
I'm gonna save my other one for the main stage. But like, you think about, because most of our life, even as a business owner, you're paid a salary or you get some distributions, things you can take out. But we don't think about like, okay, what's the next 20 years, 30 years of my life look like? What do I need from that? Of course, I don't think too many people sell and then just sit around and do nothing. Most people I run into, it's like, oh, I already got an idea and a plan for this, that, and the other thing. But how did you guys come up with your number? If you could share any insights to that.
So the former, I guess I'll call them co-owners of Service Nation, Matt Michelle and David Heimer, they did a breakout at one of the events, and actually they're on the main stage, and they explained you're probably going to make about a 4% return on your money that's invested after taxes, after everything. And so that 4% has to be enough annually for you to survive. And so what we did is we figured 50% more, because you may have an off year, there may be, the economy changes. And so we decided how much money do we need annually to survive? And we went 50% more than that just to make sure there's a cushion. And that's how we determined our number. Now, we took that number and divided it out to see what it was on a 4% return. And that gave us the ultimate, gross number. And they actually exceeded our number by almost $3 million.
Can I borrow $20?
You're paying for my massage later. You guys can't see this. We have a massage therapist right beyond the camera here. So yeah, can't wait to get in line.
Joe brings up a really good point, and it's a conversation we have with people that are contemplating selling, right? I don't need to get a deal done. We want to make sure you're happy. Your number has to work for you. So is your number getting you to whatever your promised land looks like, right? Whether that's, hey, it's buying you time to get to whatever your next project's going to wind up being, or does it carry you to whatever finish line your definition of what a finish line is? You also have to keep in mind, most of these guys have been making money. So it's not like they're getting a windfall, like they won a lottery and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
a lot
so
of them
they
have
know how to
investments all over the
invest it,
place, and real
yeah.
estate and all these other things that are working for them.
Because otherwise, you get the lottery thing, and then all of a sudden you're broke in a year, and you don't have to necessarily worry about that aspect of things. And do you go through like a training or exercise to figure out like, hey, this is really what you need to live off of? Because there's so many times, like I was thinking about this a while back, and like how much of the business pays for things that I'll have to pay for now whenever I leave.
Right. All right. So good point. So let's think about this. Let's pretend you have a wife on the payroll. Let's say she's getting $50,000 a year. And that $50,000 is, hey, you know what? You get Social Security out of that. There's going to be your health. I get you 50, you get a check. I'm your husband. You don't have to ask me for money. You get a check. Go use it, get the groceries, go do this stuff. Instead of use my card and do whatever you need, just you got money comes in. She doesn't work in the business, right? When the business sells, she's going to be what's called an add back.
Yeah.
50,000 gets added back in to your EBITDA. If that business is selling for 8x, 8 times EBITDA, well, what's 8 times 50,000? It's 400 grand. Adding her back is going to raise your business valuation $400,000. So you may get concerned that you're not going to have this money. Well, go take $400,000, put it in some investment, and give her the interest off of it every single month or whatever that looks like for the year.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
You know what I mean?
I guess-
don't know if it nets out to the same, but I think
Yeah.
she's going to have a big piggy bank to be able to do what she wants with that if
Sure,
you want to give her the
yeah.
money. I mean, I've had that conversation, by the way.
I guess my question is, like, as a business owner, mentally, like, sure, the math is, obviously you can do it if you look at your P&L, but I'm thinking about, like, little incidental things. Like, now I have to pay for fuel. Like, now I have to pay for a truck.
Go look at that bank account. Makes it very easy to say, no problem, I can handle my expenses.
We actually did
as long as you did a good job, a good sale.
Yeah, Tanya and I actually did an exercise and said, okay, we're going to be responsible for this, and this now. And so we're going to need this, and this. And we did that exercise on our own and then figured out what that number was.
I don't know.
Healthcare. I mean, there's
Yeah.
life insurance. I mean, there's so many things.
All those things. Like,
Right.
Like, I know we pay like $2,000 a month in life insurance, but we're very aggressive with it, and it's a very large policy. We know that. We knew it was going to be like that. But little things that I
Do I have to make it look accidental?
No, it actually, I think there's a suicide policy on it as well,
Okay.
which I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that.
So she's going to make it look accidental.
Or yeah.
No,
How much you worth, Tersh? You worth
So
more
I get
dead
these,
or live?
I get these financial planners, right, that I'm friends with, that call them and they want introductions to the clients. I said, I think you think these guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You don't grow a business to 10, 15, 20, 30 million without having some pretty good people around you guiding and advising you, especially what to do with your money.
Absolutely.
You know, I said, so I don't really know if there's the introduction you think is going to wind up being there. They didn't wake up and get a check.
Oh, right. Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
not a lottery.
Well,
I mean,
it's
you get money.
A deal has to work for them.
Yeah.
Not for me. It's always going to work for me.
Sure,
You want
sure.
to make a sale happen, we're going to make one happen for you.
Yeah.
It's got to work for you.
Is that
Yeah.
kind of where the conversation starts when people come to you guys? Is like, do you even know where your number is? I would assume most probably don't. They're like, well, either I want to get out, I want to retire, I want to do something else, and they just
How do you know, like, me mentally thinking this out? And it's not because I'm planning the sell. I'm just like, this is really an inquisitive topic for me. Like, how do you know how much random shit is going to inflate if you're going to say, okay, this is it. I need to live on this money for 30 years.
Well, sometimes this is it because I have other things I want to go do.
Oh, I
So a lot
agree
of
with
these owners
that.
are also diversified, right?
Yeah, no, I agree
Well,
with that.
I got a property here. We do some other things. I got another business, other businesses I'm involved with that throw
Sure.
off money. You know, it's just time for me I don't need to be here 40, 50 hours a week anymore. Or if they got great management in place, maybe they've toned down what their schedule looks like. It's not the responsibility of it anymore. And oftentimes they've got it to a place where I've grown it to where I can grow it to. I need a partner to come in with a fresh set of eyes. And
Yeah.
what we see oftentimes that happens is private equity partners with you.
Uh-huh.
Business grows 50% the next year. And you're like, oh my God, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get you the best pricing on everything.
Sure.
They're going to take all the headaches off of your plate that you have so you can go run the business the way you've always wanted to run your business. And now you've got their support. So those employees that you're like, oh man, those are cancers that you didn't want to get rid of because it's so hard to find people.
Yeah.
You got a PE partner that can go ahead and find employees for you. You hug it out and say, good luck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you're going to go replace them. You're running a
Release-
true business at that point in
Oh
time.
yeah, release them to new opportunities.
So to your point or your question about, rate of inflation and the money that you get today, well, stock market is going to grow at the rate of inflation. Gold, silver is going to grow at the rate of inflation.
Just make sure
Real
you're investing
estate's
properly.
going to grow at the rate of inflation.
Don't blow it all in one place.
Right.
Don't go buy a bunch of Ferraris.
Right.
You
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
maybe
that's,
like 2 or 3, and then
and that's
take
the
the rest.
hardest.
All right.
That is honestly the hardest thing, and I've seen it time and time again on a smaller scale. But people that I know they inherit a house and they sell it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, don't sell the house.
Yeah.
Go refinance the house. You're going to get 80% of the money.
Mhm.
and you still have the house as an asset, pay
Yeah.
a management company, but they don't listen
Rent
to me.
it out.
They go sell the house, and within 12 to 18 months,
quick
that money
bucks.
just evaporates if it's in the bank.
It does. Yeah.
And I've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
And it was a conscious effort between my wife and I not to. We did buy one car, but it wasn't a Ferrari.
that would be a hard thing for me.
And it is.
You got to
But,
give yourself that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You worked hard.
You really and all the risk that you took as a business. A lot of people don't understand the amount of risk business owners take. Like it's just like, oh, you're getting rich off of me. Yeah, this job, it was $35,000 and our expenses were $10,000. That's not every job, and that's not the norm. So yeah, we made money on this job, but how about all the other jobs we lost money on? And what about the liability of all of this stuff? It's all on my shoulders.
Correct.
And
Listen, we've seen that, man. It's personal. These guys are signed out on personal liabilities, personal guarantees.
yeah,
It's their ass on the line if something goes wrong.
well, I was forced to sign a personal liability on, I think it was PPP loan or something like that. They forced me to sign the personal liability for it. I was like, I said, so let's just say hypothetically we bankrupted this business. They're like, yeah, well, your house is on. We'll foreclose on your house. I was like, ho.
Yeah, that's what a personal guarantee looks like. They're going after the assets to cover off the loss.
Yeah,
Sure.
And I was like, oh no, I'm good. At that moment, I was like, that $500,000 is not worth it to me. I don't need it. It was just going to be extra cash flow for me. And I was like, nah, hard pass. There's times where I wish I would have grabbed it, but
Well,
nah.
the smartest money I have spent is on a bunch of good attorneys. I'm worth zero.
Yeah, no, I get it. But that's the stuff that you don't know until you know. Like, where did you learn that information? Was it through coaching organizations, or was it networking, or was it like one company that teaches you all the little tricks?
So, Service Nation, when's the last time we were in Vegas? 7, 8 years ago?
2018, I think.
Okay. They had brought an attorney in that started explaining how to protect your assets.
Isn't that somebody that you met, like, that you went to a meeting from the Service Nation event, didn't you?
I don't
Yeah,
think
you and Brittany went to a thing. Asset management type thing,
Yeah, he Laughlin Associates.
something like that.
Yeah, it was.
I
More,
remember because it was very
so,
educational.
It was more
That's
so
just-
like
You
legal.
got it. If you're going to make money, you got to know what, how
Yeah.
you're protecting it, where you're putting it. Right?
It was-
you won't have
trust
issues.
funds and
It was legal
life
entity
insurance
structuring,
policies.
and they had an annual event, and it all talked about like wealth and asset management, and you meet a bunch of different people, and they have different breakouts. It was like it's a totally different event than what we're used to coming here, because it was a very small, intimate group of just business owners or people that had real estate developments and stuff like
Well, you
that.
saw the Wall Street Journal article that just came out, right?
Ah,
well,
what?
so I
Wall
want
Street Journal article that all, here, where's the new class of millionaires coming from?
Apparently, everyone knows now. Secret's
I've,
out.
I've seen people talking about it,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen it yet. I'll look it up, but apparently,
I'll kick it over to you. I got it on my phone.
okay.
Well, I wanted, because you mentioned something really interesting before we started recording. You were in tune with the AHRI shipment data,
Yeah.
which has become more of a hot topic because everyone's like, well, is it just a slow time? Where are we at? Is it a recession? Is it all these things? But can you talk a little bit about that? And first of all, how you even tune into something like that? Because honestly, until the last, I would say, year or two, I never tuned into stuff like that. Now it's something that's a little bit more prevalent. I think people are at least talking about it. And why you decided to sell
the
when
cost
you did.
is ridiculous.
Actually, I was out here in Orlando 4 years ago for a Residio event, and Matt Michelle, again, brought it up. And so I started digging and looked at it, and I think all the manufacturers knew what was coming.
And when you say knew what was coming, what are you describing?
Well, there's a cycle on equipment sales and equipment shipments. And there's a full cycle on that, and you can go back and start looking at the data and start to see these cycles. And there's a 15-year cycle on equipment sales. And 20 should have been peak. But because of COVID, the carryover, and everybody sitting at home with COVID money,
Yep.
21 ended up becoming the peak. Well, from peak to trough, it's normally a 35-40% reduction.
In
To back
box
that-
sales.
Yes. Well, and to back that up, you can go look at Google Trends.
Yeah.
And Google Trends will back that data up. And you can see DFW, where I'm from, is down about 30% this year on HVAC searches.
Hello, home service professionals. Do you want to maximize your marketing budget? Then you need to be using call tracking from CallRail. Let's say you noticed a spike in new leads this month. To find out what's driving them, you just log into your CallRail dashboard. Is my new Facebook ad outperforming my other ads? Or is paid search knocking it out of the park? Or maybe it's time to retire those newspaper ads. Since CallRail assigns a unique phone number to each of my marketing efforts, I know where my best leads come from and which efforts to scrap. CallRail shows you your most cost-effective marketing channels so you can get back to business. Go to callrail.com/SBMpod and try it for free.
Well, we've talked about this, the reduction in call volume. Like, there's still companies out here making money with reduced call volume, but it's because they're hyper focused on every single call rather than letting
they
them
figured out how to do like Billy Stevens talks a lot
Like a
about
service.
system refreshes.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and having repair options that are still very great margins and good dollar figure, but
Exactly.
it's not a full replacement yet.
So I think Billy has found the silver bullet that the industry has overlooked for years. As
And when you say
far
about
as-
okay,
as extending the lifetime value of the customer with these system rebuilds, but he's also found an extremely high gross margin repair option that is going to be way more profitable than a system replacement. And when you run the numbers all the way out to your balance sheet and to your P&L, you're almost going to be as profitable on way less revenue dollars. And with the economy that is coming, with the Fed dropping interest rates, there's rumors that QE may start back up at the end of 25. That's gonna
What may
spur-
start back up?
Quantitative easing.
Oh, okay.
QE.
I just couldn't hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so both of those things will create more inflation once again. And so I think we're going to find a middle ground option that most people are going to gravitate to. It just so happens to be the most profitable.
Well, the thing about it is like my companies have never been box changers. Like, and I think that goes back to my days at BDR where it was like, get your service department to cover the overhead of the company. And that kind of was just drilled into my brain for years and years. And so now it's like people ask, like, how many installers do you have? And like, nope, I got 1-2 installers. And like, I hear of other companies that have like 20 install crews and 1 service tech. And I'm like, I'm the exact opposite.
I actually have a client. Well, they're in Massachusetts, so it's a little different with the heat pump mass save thing, but they don't do service. They don't do maintenance.
Yeah.
All they do is install. And I'm like, and I've told them this. I said, that's great right now because there's a ton of rebates. So everyone in Massachusetts is like, yeah, I want to get a heat pump. What happens when that ends?
Yeah. Or you have
What are
to
you gonna
warranty
ha-
those
what
calls.
What are you going to have left? Because it sounds great. Like, yeah, oh, shit. Yeah, if we could just do replacements all day, like, I mean, it's like maybe the perfect business for some people. At least that's what our industry has pushed towards for years, right? I think we've almost like all the training, all the different things is we push towards system replacement constantly. Just replace the system, and now we've had the COVID thing, the AHRI data, almost like a pull forward effect. Now where it's like even more like a steeper of a cliff.
Yeah. We done messed ourselves up.
We
Taking advantage of everything
talked
that's
about that a
happened.
little bit. Is like we kind of like did it to ourselves
Yeah.
because we're all a lot of box changers.
Well, I'm going to say 2 controversial things. One, people aren't going to like this, but if you're up 15% this year, you're flat.
Right. Because of inflations and everything.
You're talking about
Yeah.
top line.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm not
The
trying to rain on
natural,
people's
like
parade.
people are like, oh, we grew, like we're growing in X, Y, and Z. If you didn't grow during COVID, like there's a problem. Yeah, you lost. Yeah,
Right.
you lost money.
Everybody grew. Just honestly, terrible operators grew.
And I think COVID, well, the top of the cliff, one, COVID made things so easy that people that really don't know how to run a business were able to be profitable and do things they shouldn't have been able to
Well,
do.
even maybe not even profitable, but their top line numbers shot up. And so then you could get on a Facebook group and say, hey, look, I went
Best
from
month in company history.
1 million
every month.
to 6 million and, through this time period. And it's like, okay, gotcha. And then the same companies are bankrupt now or out of business because it's
Absolutely.
getting tough to do.
Absolutely. The next controversial thing I will say, make sure that nobody's going to egg me. If you run the numbers out and you have 1,000 maintenance plans, you're probably losing $300,000 worth of EBITDA a year
On how much, like,
on 1,000 maintenance plans.
versus memberships.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, I understand.
Versus memberships or
Is
versus...
that's because it's tied to something in the future, right?
No,
Is that
that's
why you're saying that?
because 70% of those are going to be $0 tickets.
Yeah,
That's
because the guys aren't going to convert on them.
You're going to lose them because customers are going to call in and say, hey, I'm paying you to come out here each year and try to sell me something I don't need.
Yeah.
And you're compounding it when you're doing it twice. Then those 1,000 memberships, those 700 $0 tickets that you ran could have been, well, 1,400 could have been an average ticket of $400. Now, if you're really well ran, 20% of those were some sort of system replacement lead. And if you're at a 50% close rate, total blend, but on a tech flip, you should be closer to 70, 80. Well, that times a $13,000 average ticket, you're losing 300 grand on every 1,000. So things like memberships, things like smart AC, these devices that we have, the technology that that's coming out is going to make us way more profitable. It's going to tell us when we need to go do a maintenance over here. We're not just going to go run a
Just
truck.
out of spite, or just because the CSR needs the board filled, so she gets like all your systems you just installed.
Now
booked.
think about what happens when we level the season. We're not in February scrambling to hire people to run all these tune-ups. We're now hiring in October when everybody else is laying off.
Yeah. So then you get to pick the top of the line. Or
Yeah, we don't have the big surge.
Obviously, they're gonna in a perfect world, you're gonna keep your best technicians. But if they see that everybody else is getting laid off, they're more open.
The
to look
writing's
at-
on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should just hand it all over to the robots. Right?
Like I said before we started taping, I think AI is going to be a very good thing to a certain point. And I think the days of 30% nets, 35% nets are here. They can be here with the technology we have. I just think some people are grasping at what AI is going to do, and we may be going a little overboard. We actually need to sit down and put pen to pad and see if these things are actually going to be good for us or not.
Well, so that's funny. I literally had that conversation. Searchlight Digital is right behind us over here, and they're a revenue analytics company. We use a lot for our clients for dashboards and stuff, and they were talking because they're working with one of the vendors here that does AI voice. And I said, you wouldn't happen to have like a little larger scale data on like human CSR versus, because that's going to be the tipping point,
Yeah.
right? If we can get to
Yeah.
an AI voice product that is as good as some of the best companies CSRs are better at booking, and then the tickets are still good and they set up the call the right way, that's where it's going to be like, okay, now it's time. Like, we really all need to start considering this. Because I know there's a lot of people jumping on. Tersh uses it at his company. There's a lot of clients that I have that use AI voice. And
So I will tell you this. We have had great success. We use Avoca.ai, and I'm telling you the name of the company that we use to also be very transparent and saying the fact that we had a big old mess up. They took care of us. Avoca, the team at Avoca took care of us instantly, but we actually had a client call in and something happened with the phone number itself, nothing on the AI agent or anything, but the phone number just hung up. And then they called a different number. Well, all of the numbers
Come into
forward
one.
to the same Avoca call agent. Well, it hung up too. And they were like, they must be out of business. Literally sent a message on Facebook and they were like, hey, all your phone numbers are just hanging up on me. I was like, oh no. And this is like at 6 o'clock at night. So like the phones had just transferred over. And because we did away with our after hours call centers to use the AI agent after hours. And I was like, oh my God. And I called it myself, hung up on me. And I was like, oh no. And so like I immediately took them out of the call tree, reached out to Avoca, and they fixed it. Like within 20 minutes, they had it fixed. It was a freak of nature type thing. But that's what you're going to deal with when you're front running on AI stuff. You have to be willing to be okay when stuff like that happens and be able to explain to your client.
Especially early on
Yeah.
when it's still new technology. I mean, you
100%.
just got to be willing to jump back in and have a backup plan. Like, I think it was the week everyone was at Pantheon, like ServiceTitan had an outage.
Yeah.
And Facebook was going nuts. But like, it just, no matter what it is, with more technology means more stuff's probably going to break. You know, they obviously have their own redundant systems and stuff, but stuff happens. So the more you lean into it, the more you still have to have a backup plan.
It's here. You got to embrace it.
Yeah.
Right? You got to fail forward fast, make your mistakes, you know what I mean, and get it up. It can save you a ton of money. Right? We know some companies that are so ridiculously efficient. You know, we take a look at a business. Some of the most efficient businesses we've ever dealt with have like an EBITDA profile like 20%. That means if they're a $10 million business, they got a $2 million EBITDA number. That's
good.
We know guys out there that are almost at 30%. And they are using all of this wonderful AI and they got super efficient, so they are. And they're using what's available to them. You know what I mean? They embraced it.
You know, if you were still in business, or maybe people that you've talked to, what types of things what types of tools are enhancing those efficiencies?
Say that one more time.
What types of tools and things and softwares are enhancing the efficiencies to the point where they can get to a 20, 25, 30%?
I mean, listen, if you have a good grasp of, say, ServiceTitan, for example, right? Because ServiceTitan, we were just talking about it before we started. I've got an iPhone 15. I have the sophistication for an iPhone 3. There's more stuff on here than I know what to do with, and it probably slows me down most of the time with all the crazy crap that's available. I don't need it. It's too much for me. But you've got some people that are incredibly sophisticated, and they have the ability to go ahead and work ServiceTitan the way it needs to be worked. Some of the most successful businesses we see, they almost have somebody on staff that is a ServiceTitan expert.
Oh,
Right? To be able to do and pull their reports and this and that. And then there's ones that maybe aren't as sophisticated, don't take as much, but are still incredibly powerful, right? Billy Stevens has Sarah, right? He's picking up a lot of momentum with businesses. And Billy's one of these guys because he came from the trades, understands what needs to happen. He's running his system on his business and throwing off stupid numbers, and they're ridiculously efficient. So there's another thing, right? I can't tell you if there's a right or wrong answer. It's whatever feels best for you. But private equity, I don't say they stop caring who you're using. As long as you're using somebody, that's fine. If they want to switch you over, once they've done a deal with you, they're going to switch you over to whatever they want to switch you over to. But they also have staff in place to be able to make sure it's seamless. And they could be at your office for 30 days to make sure that there's no issue with, you know what I mean?
I was wondering about that because I had heard in the past, like some of the PE firms out there, they're like, if you weren't on a particular CRM, they didn't want anything to do with you.
Well, because they had to do it, they had to switch you over, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have 6, 7, 8, 9 assets going in 8, 7, 8, 9 different directions.
Oh,
we got to
no.
streamline this, right?
Sure.
Same chart of accounts, same way we look at how to pull reports, because I got to pull them for 9. I got to line them up, and I got to have a conversation. I can't have one black sheep over here doing it a different way and us trying to figure out how to integrate that person back in. But as private equity's gotten more sophisticated, they brought people on that are ServiceTitan experts. Then when they want to go ahead and bring somebody over, they're going to put that person on site to make sure it's seamless.
That makes sense.
It's sophisticated. Nothing wrong with it. If you're not sophisticated and you're trying to play a game with some sophisticated piece of equipment, it could take you months.
Oh, yeah. The learning curve's crazy.
So I've got a year and 300 days left on my non-compete. That's why I'm here, is I'm already looking at what I'm going to do. To the AI point, we had a chat bot at our old company. We called her Betsy. Betsy, get out of line sometimes, and we would have to reel her back in. So we've learned that, there's going to be some tweaks here and there, but once we tweak Betsy out, then phenomenal. And so that's what I'm looking at now. What technologies? Sarah, knowing Billy, being to the office, seeing the things that are in the pipeline. I'm looking at them like, okay, I see what's happening. Billy's a 30%er. That means running 30% net. How can I do what Billy's doing, but put it on steroids? The AI dispatching, AI CSR, there's so many different things, to the point of the maintenance plans versus memberships, to, not running a truck, putting a device on a system. And there's so many of these things, adding these rebuilds in, doing these other things. My goal next time is to build a 10 million off the bat and make it a 35% net.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm looking at now is how can I leverage all these things? And I'm talking to all the founders behind the scenes and investing in some of them and seeing how I can meld these things together to do that. I mean, I had 13 people in my last call center. Can I get that down to 1 or 2?
Right.
Well, it doesn't even go into like dispatch. A lot of dispatch,
Correct.
different softwares. We talked to a contractor when we were at Nextstar's event, about 30 million. That's one of the things that he was implementing. And he said that crazy the amount of efficiency, a lot less windshield time for the technicians. They're happier because they don't have to drive 45 minutes between calls, especially like DFW area. Like that's even if you don't have a big service area, it's still hard to get around that area. So I could definitely see where that, that I know we talked with Billy, like revenue per technician number that was like, I think 180 used to be like the standard. That number is like blown out of the water now. Like some of these guys are getting close to like 400,000 or 500,000 per employee at their company, which is wild to think about because 5 years ago we'd had this conversation. We're like, yeah, 180 is good, 200, 220.
We used to think 250. When I have a conversation,
right.
When I have a conversation with a business owner, I ask them how many employees, and they're like 20. I'm like, oh, you're doing
You
about
could probably,
5 million.
Yep.
Like, oh my God.
It was
how'd
like a
you know that?
magic trick.
Yeah.
This is a magic. We were taught that I was a territory sales manager for a year. It's exactly what we're taught. Find the revenue number. How many, or find how many employees you can kind of reverse engineer
Right.
the math.
Then you look like the
It's a
smartest.
little different now.
You look like the smartest guy in the room when you're able to do that, right?
It's a magic trick.
But to the point Joe is making, so here, just to put it in a numerical sense, like let's make this really real. You had a $10 million business. Your EBIT is 10%. Not really good. $1 million. You're getting paid, call it 8x, right? You might get more. Just let's make the numbers easier. You're going to 8x. You get $8 million valuation, right? 8 times 1 is 8. You're 20% EBITDA. You're $2 million bucks. Times 8, same 8x. You're 16 million. Joe's talking about bringing all these features in to be able to potentially get a 30% EBITDA number on 10 million. That's 3 million. 3 million times 8 is 24 million. The top line hasn't changed. The business got more efficient. Do you see the difference? The $8 million guy may not have enough to get him through the rest of his life. I can promise you 24 million is a whole nother stratosphere of a number.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. It's got more efficient.
My first big expo, conference, whatever, I had 3 mentors of mine that pulled me aside, thankfully, and told me, you're going to hear a lot of crap here from a lot of contractors. You're going to hear, this guy's doing 20 million, 30 million, 60 million, whatever. Not a single one of them is going to tell you what their net profit is.
Oh, yeah.
Not a single one.
That
And there
vanity
was-
number.
There were 3
That's
of
the
them.
same thing when you sit at a table like breakfast and stuff. They're all like, what you doing?
How many trucks
3
you got?
million, 5 million, how many trucks? Nobody never comes up. I've never heard it once.
Or I had made a bet in a group once. I said, you guys have the next 45 days. You let me look at your numbers. You tell me what you think your EBITDA is. You will not be within hundreds of thousands of dollars of where you think it is. They always overshoot because they don't know how the game is played. And all deals are done on EBITDA, right? It is a multiple of EBITDA. So you talk about net, we talk about EBITDA. EBITDA is the scorekeeper. I don't care what you run through the business. It'll be an add back, and I'm okay with that. We talked about it earlier about doing an audit once a year. That's your scorecard to see how you're doing. Sucks. Listen, no, they don't like to pay the financial guys because We're contractors. We just don't understand it. Doesn't make sense. But my God, to not have that person on your team helping to guide you on where we're going right and where we're going wrong in the business, it's unfortunate. You got to do it. Sucks. But they're there to protect you from you and to protect your business. And when you think things are going bad, you're because it's October 24 and holy shit, our numbers don't look that good, but you're killing what you did in October 23. Find the positive. Let's keep things moving forward. Hey, our numbers are still here, right? Our percentages are still here. You got to have that person in place. And people don't want to do it. You're going to pay for that one way or the other. Either in your valuation somewhere down the road because you don't have your shit together. You pay for it up front and somebody's going to help you with the business. But if you're going to hire that person, make sure they are from our space. And to that end, there are plenty of fractional CFOs. You don't have to go all in for a six-figure thing. There's other people that'll do it for you that handle hundreds of contractors that know where your numbers should be. And sit down and have that conversation. We have a once-a-month meeting, whether it takes 1 or 2 hours, to go through the numbers. Are we going right or are we going wrong?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you got to make money. You're in business to make profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, we hope you'd like to sell the business. That would be wonderful, but not everybody's going to sell. But at least you still should be making as much money as you can.
Yeah. And have it making money for you versus it being a stressful money pit. That's one of the biggest things that Billy said to me. He was like, let's just improve these efficiencies and just have that company print money for you. I was like,
What I love about talking to Billy is he makes it simple.
yeah, he simplifies the thing.
He takes very complex things and he makes it very simple.
Well, I think we overcomplicate things.
It's like human nature. It's got to be more complicated, Craig, because I haven't figured it out yet, so it's got to be more complicated than what I'm doing now.
Yeah, luckily, Billy's been a mentor of mine for a long time, and he's helped me to navigate these waters and simplify this stuff. And I think that's what he's trying to get Sarah to do, is simplify everything for people.
There's things that whenever I first started using Sarah, I was like, Billy, we need to update this, this, and this. And he was like, why? And I was like, because that's how we do it. He's like, but why? And I was like,
it's like a 3-year-old.
Billy, we got to do it. And
Give
he's
me
like,
a reason to
well,
do it.
why? If you can convince me why, then I'll do it. But otherwise, we're not doing it. I was like, okay, touche.
I've had that same conversation, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, I think he has that a lot.
Yeah, very calm, like a Yoda Zen type of thing.
Thank you to Company Cam for supporting today's episode.
These guys are changing the game for contractors with their smart photo app.
Keep your projects documented and streamline your team's communication with even your most complicated jobs.
Try it for free for 14 days and get 25% off of your first 2 months at companycam.com/SBM.
Tersh, I want to talk about something that's a hot topic in the digital marketing space: missed calls. You were telling me the other day you have a unique way of making sure 100% of your calls are answered. What the heck are you doing?
It's actually really cool. So, we always talk about AI and automation. Well, now I don't have to worry about missed calls anymore because we use Avoca.ai, and it's an AI voice agent. And every time a phone call comes in and say one of our CSRs are busy or even after hours, we've actually completely done away with after hours call center. Avoca picks up the phone and it announces that it's an AI agent. Her name's actually Sarah, and she's really cool. And it's great because every time you get a conversation going, and that entire conversation is transcribed and gets sent to Slack, text message, or onto their dashboard. And then if some of the CRMs that we're using out there, actually you can book the call through the CRM as well. So that's a really cool thing too. So, honestly, if anybody hasn't checked this out already, www.avoca.ai.
So, guys, if these problems are yours and you want to fix them, head over to www.avoca.ai and discover how they're helping service businesses like yours maximize every lead that you get.
I think our egos have us focus on the wrong things. So, marketing. I've seen plenty of companies, especially in private equity, where those are two different departments, and they're run as two different departments. In my company, they were meshed into one another because my marketing message was a direct impact to my EBITDA. And so I think I learned that early on. My marketing department had to work with my operations department to see, okay, what kind of calls are we getting? Plumbing as an example. We can run all these water heater flush specials all day long. We're going to run a $79 water heater flush special. Well, what is going to happen when I run that $79 water heater flush special? I'm buying TMPs left and right because all of a sudden when I flush that water heater, those things start leaking. So I'm already losing money running that. And I'm compounding it by having to replace all these things that I just touched that weren't leaking before I got there. Okay. What about a $99 sewer line clean? Well, I explained to somebody last night, that's like Johnny Appleseed. I'm just planting seeds everywhere I go. 6-9 months later, all of a sudden, I got a $15,000 sewer line repair. I got a $60,000. My last 2 months that I was still at my old company, I did a $110,000 sewer line repair. Came off of a $99 drain clear. You know, I want everybody else to do all the water heaters in the world. I want every single drain. And so once I saw what was actually making the money on the operational side, we brought marketing in. We said, hey, this is where we got to go with this.
Yeah.
It's sometimes the other stuff's the low-hanging fruit, and it feels like it's easier to get those leads coming in the door than it is the other.
Well, I think we as an industry have bonused people on the number of calls. Not the quality of calls, number of calls. I think we have relied on marketing agencies too much. I think we have now considered PPC and LSA and whatever else to be the mystical, magical silver bullet. And I was guilty of the agency hopping early on when I didn't know any better. And I found Google Trends on my own, and I realized, well, I can't call my agency and tell them to raise my bid from 100 to 500 and expect to get calls when there's no demand.
Right.
And so I realized early on, I need to start making checklists and everything else during the busy season to support my slow season. I can pay an agency however much money, it doesn't matter. There's only two ways I'm gonna make money in the wintertime or in the off season, and that is by checklist and everything that I did or by acquisition. I can't spend the money in marketing to make the phone ring when there's no demand.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the conversation all the time. You know, and honestly, so the last place that I worked before I started Relentless and went off on my own, I was in charge of the marketing and the operations internally. And we were at 2.5% top line revenue growing 50-60% a year, but they were like this. And so to your point, like I saw that firsthand, and it's so true because a lot of times agencies or even people on freelancers, they get hired to do the marketing because the business owners don't want to deal with it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't care; they don't want to deal with it. It's like
We don't want to learn it. Don't want to
just like put
have
that marketing thing in that
learn
closet.
another number to watch.
Yeah, just put the marketing thing in the closet over there. Like, I know I got to get leads. Like, just go do it for me, please.
And when the leads don't come in, I'm just gonna scream at you.
Yeah, and then like right now, I mean, it's middle of October. You know, it's still somewhat warm in some places, but everyone's already been fixed or whatever. You know, it's
And you're in an election cycle.
well, yeah, that's a whole different beast. Like, especially when you do paid media. Good
You're
luck.
done.
Your costs have gone up 10, 20, 30%.
Or you're getting knocked
easily.
out.
Even postcards because of all the politicians sending out postcards.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why owning your customer list and re-engaging that list, even if you've only been in business a couple years, you know, if you started your business during COVID, which a lot of people started around that time, you got a customer list, just go back to those people. You don't have to spend any more money. Just talk to them. Pick up the phone, text them. Do it. You can text them one by one if you have to, if you don't want to get a software, you know? It's super easy. It's just, it takes work. You roll the sleeves up a little bit and you got to just do it. And you got to be comfortable hearing no from your customers.
To your point, I mean, we're talking about technology, a good rehash program. I'm not going to say the name of what we had. It cost me $8,700 for the year. It drove $1 million worth of revenue back in the door.
I mean, that's a good investment.
$8,700.
That's an okay investment.
I still remember before because I wanted to lean into text messaging back in like 18, 19. It wasn't. Homeowners didn't really accept that yet. I got a lot of FUs, lose my effing number. Like I got a lot of that because
I do that one a
I was
lot.
trying to blast stuff. I'm like, this is like, man, this is like such
I
a
have
good
that
form.
one on shortcut. So like you just type in a couple letters and it just lose my effing number.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that like it's become a more acceptable thing. I mean, honestly, if anything, politics has actually made it easier because people are so used to getting that stuff now. E-commerce has made it so easy. We get text yeah, there you go. So, tall Paul standing behind the thing. So I mentioned e-commerce. So,
But I think this is the biggest thing to come that nobody's really doing well yet. And I won't get into
What are you pointing at for those who are listening and not watching?
I'm pointing at Tall Paul with Contractor Commerce. And I think Paul and them, we worked with Paul at my last company, and Paul and them were gracious enough to change some of the things with their program to help us out. We never even advertised that we were selling systems online, and we were selling systems online. Full book price, no discount.
How did you avoid? I know that they get this all the time. Like, oh, then my competitors are all going to have my prices, and
God bless them.
just don't give a shit.
We never even advertised that we were selling systems online.
imagine if you advertised it.
I know. I was getting it ready, so I didn't have all the time. I was getting ready to reduce the price, to be more competitive before we launched it. We would just put our normal book price in, and we were selling systems. But I think the one thing that I'm hoping becomes a major topic in the industry is break even, and people actually learning break even. And
Like
what
their daily break even.
I'm going to get it down to a daily break
daily.
even.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, that's going to change so much in profitability for these companies. And it's going to mean so much. So if I can use Contractor Commerce and be able to reduce my price by 35%, how many more systems am I going to sell?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's what Billy's talked about with the job time efficiency, because he know that number. I actually had someone who had a conversation. He uses a different software. He had like a 30-minute conversation with him, and he actually, because it like light bulb went off in his head because Billy makes it so simple to understand that stuff, and he was like right away more efficient. He was able to actually drop his price, his sold hour or whatever. I don't remember the conversation completely, but it was like a light bulb moment, understanding just those numbers and the simplicity of now it's a lever, right? You can change it at any time. Hey, I'm slow. We're dropping it. We're just going to continue to pay the bills. And, in the busy season when everybody wants it, where you can sell anything to anyone, you can make your money. You can make your money. You can make your profit. You can make whatever you need for the rest of the year. So
I am going to try to make break even the new buzzword for 2025.
Hashtag
this
break
year,
even.
2024 has been efficiency.
You
Everybody's
heard
talking
it here
about
first.
becoming more
Hashtag
efficient.
break even.
Break even needs to be the buzzword for 2025. I say it to contractors. This is like deer in headlights. They don't know it. They don't understand it. And if the ones that can get there, it's a complete game changer. I mean, when I have 2 crews that have nothing to do tomorrow, and 2 install crews that have nothing to do tomorrow, and my techs, my comfort advisor, whoever's calling from this house and saying, hey, I'm over here at Miss Jones's house. I'm quoting her $14,000, but she says, hey, I'll do it tomorrow if we can do it for 11. I look at my break even for tomorrow. I need 10 to hit break even before I even hit tomorrow, and I fill a crew up for tomorrow. Guess what I'm doing? We're doing it for 11 all day long, because I'm not having to play catch up at the end of the month to hit my break even number.
Yeah.
And I think if more people realized and understood that, for years and years, reducing price was the biggest F word, or negative word.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it too. But once I started realizing the power of break even, my whole theory on that changed.
It's definitely taboo in our industry to talk about. But yeah, because it requires you to keep your finger on the pulse daily. versus we'll just look at the P&L.
It looks like work.
Well, when you go to sell your company,
Right. That's what they need. Another number that we got to go look at.
but when you're looking at selling your company in the next 2 years, and they're looking at your trailing 12, that should be your only focus
Yeah.
is on your break even and hitting it by the 20th, 21st of the month.
Well, you want to comp over what you did the year before
Yeah.
that same month. So when you look at it, so real quick side note, like deals are done on a trailing 12 months EBITDA. So if you told me you wanted to sell your business today, it's not going to happen for at least 6 months. That means if I'm working together with you, we have 6 months to affect a whole lot of really positive change for you, right? So you want to know going into November, what was November 23 look like? Great, you did X. We knew this November to be X plus because you're going to affect your EBITDA now. And by the way, you keep doing that, you keep comping over, keep seeing that number go up, it's a bigger payday for you.
Or have you had it where you've helped people out so much that they were like,
Yes.
I'm not gonna sell.
Where business might become fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Less
they want to.
stressful.
It's just, all
Less
of a sudden they're
stressful is probably a better
holy
word.
shit, I think we're focusing on our numbers now more than we ever did. We're getting a 30% pop here. You're like, okay, well, again, you let us know. Let's forecast out where we think this is going to go. But keep in mind, you want to be comping over months, right? Because that's going to keep your value keep moving up. You may run onto that summer where you're like, we're never beating last summer. We might want to get to market because it's probably going to hurt us more than it's going to help us. Like we had the ideal summer, it was 40,000 degrees. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. We never really saw rain. It was just nonstop heat. And we worked, there was 4 months. We're not going to have it this next summer. Get your deal done.
So I want to ask you before, because I know we're getting close. We got to wrap up here. But so
Oh, we're actually
there's a lot
way
of-
over.
Yeah, I know. There's been a good conversation. The trends with multiples. Where has that been? Like, take us from like maybe 2020 to the 2024, because obviously it's changed, but
It has, but not as
just so
drastically.
people kind of keep
not
up with
as
it.
drastically as everybody's thought.
Okay.
You have to keep in mind that when 2021 and 2022 hit, right, coming out of COVID, private equity is looking for places to invest. They weren't doing restaurant flips anymore, right? We didn't even know restaurants were going to be a business. Commercial properties went by the wayside, right? A lot of these other typical places they would invest in, build some stuff up and sell it, wasn't there anymore. We had a lot of people that flooded our space. We were recession-proof, and now we were pandemic-proof, and now we were essential services. So you knew no matter what was going to go in the world, these guys were going to be able to work.
Yeah.
Their multiples are skyrocketing, going up and to the right. You had this perfect storm. Business is growing, right? Everybody in a money tree in their backyard, 0% interest. We're getting checks. Private equity needed to make investments. So we would take a deal in the market, and now you have 70 buyers signing non-disclosure agreements to see the asset. To put it in perspective, let's pretend you went and sold a house. You did an open house on a Saturday, and your broker bought 70 couples by to see your house. You're licking your chops. You're going to get your number. There's just no doubt. There's too many people, right? Same thing was happening. Now we take a deal to market. I don't get the same number of looks, right? Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 30, but definitely more than it was pre-COVID. And while people say multiples have shifted, they have. By how much? Maybe 10, maybe 15%. But I got to tell you, we're getting deals done and we're getting our numbers. So I have not maybe felt it the same way that maybe some other people have, but you create a competitive bidding process. You make sure you've got a good asset. You also are coming into a situation where a lot of these guys want to flip the portfolio, so they get a little looser with the checkbook as well. When they're just trying to make an arbitrage, right? Hey, we're going to be out of this investment. That private equity going to be out of the investment next year. They're at the end of their thing. They want to get a deal done. Maybe they get a little looser with making a deal happen. So there's timing to it. There's all kinds of crazies.
So let me ask you one last question. This will be the last question I have for you. Other than getting information from me, what is the craziest multiple you've seen? Not dollar amount, like not just multiple.
Seen him in the teens.
Huh?
Teens.
Yeah.
Recently,
Low teens or high teens?
you have to keep in mind, right? So everybody thinks, oh my,
Yeah.
like when you think about this, you got to be smart enough to understand. They can't buy you for more than they pay for the portfolio. They got to make their money. So if they bought a portfolio for 16, they can't pay you more than what they bought the portfolio for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a little game. You got to keep an eye on these things. So when people turn around, I got paid this. Bullshit.
Right.
You may have, because that's what they wrote down on paper, but you didn't read it.
you don't know the EBITDA percent.
Because they told you what it was.
Right.
You
Yeah.
didn't say, hey, here's my EBITDA. Go prove it. Let's assume that's what it is. the nice part about my company is this. I got 3 CPAs on staff. We're going to vet your EBITDA to the penny, and we're going to tell the buyer what the EBIT is. And because our reputation is we get deals done, good deals done, we have solid clients, we do the work up front, we do a lot of heavy lifting, all that diligence work winds up being confirmatory. They're not trying to beat the number up to see if they could retrade the deal. They're confirming it to make sure they can stand behind their offer. Just a different way of looking at it, right? And to that end, incredible amount of success. We probably close 95% of the deals that come to us.
That's really cool.
This is awesome, guys. We didn't have like a strict topic for this one. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. This was a great thing. We talked, like, literally there's a bunch of nuggets in this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yeah. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.